Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Laces Out. Hoodie Mellow and White Chocolate joining you tonight.
Wait, Laces Out?
Did I say Laces Out?
Yes.
Bro, I'm getting my shows mixed up at this point. I do like a trillion different shows. This isn't Laces Out. Wrong partner. This is Two Skinny Dudes, everybody. Oh, man. That's the first time I've ever messed that up, and I always, I'm like, don't mess it up. Just go in. You know what show you're doing. I get it so muscle memory where anytime I intro like Laces Out, I've done that for a year. So like damn it. That's the first time I've ever done that too, man. Yes, this is Two Skinny Dudes. This is not Laces Out. That is Jason Aponte and his...
Hoodie Mellow was good though. I like that. That was a good one.
Yeah, did you like that? Yeah.
I did.
So obviously Jason Aponte very happy about the Blazers' performance against the Knicks last night. Or not the Knicks, the Nuggets last night. My God, I am just all over the place. So
no, for sure.
Here's the thing. It's been a crazy sports day. I mean, we got Phil winning the PGA. The Knicks got 15,000 in the Garden. So it's a good day to be a sports fan, and I'm just enjoying all of it. And I guess we're low-key celebrating the beginning of the NBA playoffs. I'm wearing, if you can't see, it's a Jason Williams white chocolate jersey.
Yeah, Hoodie Mellow, white chocolate works, man. Absolutely works.
It does. So, I mean, obviously this is a football show, but it's nice to have crowds back, man. I'm so happy.
Absolutely.
It was much needed.
And it's funny because I was at a Yankee game yesterday, hence why I'm so red. And
that's a good look on you.
Yeah, I think it didn't come out too bad. I mean, it was like 90 degrees outside, but I think it worked out fine. But honestly, you're right, man. Being around fans, getting back to normal, a little something. The Knicks game tonight is the most that people have been together since the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So that's a big win, and obviously when the Knicks are good, the city's electrified. So a lot of people are excited around here, but you're absolutely right. It's really good to start to see fans, start to hear crowd noise, start to know that we're starting to get back to normal a little bit. Finish my vaccination as well too. That was good. Pretty bad, honestly. That was just one bad day, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't got mine yet. I know I'm falling behind everybody, and I'm kind of I'm not worried about getting it just because I'm like an anti-vaxxer, but like I see my friends get it and they're just like yoked the next day. They're zonked out, and I'm just like, oh man, that looks bad. But at the same time, it is very much worth it. So if you can get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. It is very nice. Also, I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes, they had near full capacity for the NHL playoffs. I think they had 12,000. I know Nashville had a pretty big one. The Islanders had a good capacity. So
did you see? So let's take it back to football. You said the Islanders, right? So the New York Jets.
Yeah, Zach Wilson and his O-line. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So Zach Wilson and his O-line were there with the Islanders. They started smashing beers. This gentleman looks like he's 14. So what did he smash? He smashed some water. So apparently Zach Wilson is 14. He doesn't drink in public, nothing like that at all.
I wonder, well, I mean, he went to BYU. Is he like a devout Mormon?
He is. His mom is...
Wow.
I don't know if you've... anybody, look, we're not going to get into that because that's a little bit less football related, but if you get a chance, just Google Zach Wilson's mom, IG Live, and...
I know that like he has two brothers that look exactly like him because I saw them on draft night and I was like, which one's Zach? Because they look...
No, I meant his mom is a little... His mom's a little...
I mean...
out there.
Well, is what it is. But yes, I did see that. Considering I'm a Penguins fan, I was watching the game. The series is now tied 2-2. So thank you to the Islanders for putting up. I think it was 4-1. It was awful. But yes, let's stick to football here. And as you see, scrolling across the ticker, yes, the Julio Jones trade rumors are in full effect right now. It's been made known that the Atlanta Falcons are looking to move the all-pro wide receiver. And the biggest trade destination is the New England Patriots. I guess Julio made the request to go to New England. Why he would want to do that, God only knows. I'm obviously going to give my thoughts on it. Jay, what are your thoughts on Julio? And obviously, as a 49er fan, I'm sure you would enjoy seeing him there.
Right. So we saw something that came across, I think it's from New York, NBC Sports Edge, basically the fantasy site, saying that Julio Jones requested a trade to New England because he wants to play with Cam. Now, clearly, what does that kick off? It kicks off a bunch of jokes. Everyone pulls up what happened last year with Cam. But I think it speaks to something different. How players view other players and how the public views NFL players seem to be two separate things. And To the NFL fan that watches and watched Cam Newton, for many of them, they would say, why on earth would you want to go play with him? Julio Jones wants to play with Cam. So where's the divide? Here's what happened last year for me, and I'll let you get right into it. Separated shoulder, shoulder messed up, not a lot of weapons. They ran the ball a ton. Okay, Cam has been inaccurate his entire time in the league, even when he was an MVP. There was years where, you see some throws that you're just like, what was that? But I'm not as down on Cam as so many other people are. So I'll let you present the other side of the argument, because something came out today about Cam working on his mechanics again, breaking it down to put it back up. Listen, one thing that you'll never be able to say about Cam Newton is that he doesn't work hard. And I'm tired of the narrative about his clothes taking away from him looking into the playbook. That's a whole other discussion that we can get into. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because I think it's really interesting. If you ask the NFL fan what they think of this, they would say, why on earth would you want to do that? But clearly, Julio Jones wants to be there for some reason. So talk to me, Jarrett.
Yeah, so speaking of NBC Sports Edge, my buddy Thor Nystrom, I believe this is his article. I know I saw it on his Twitter page, but he pulled a little snippet from it based off Cam Newton's 2020 season. So last year, Cam Newton ranked 35th out of 35 in terms of qualified quarterbacks in passing yards per game with 177.1. And passer rating in 82.9. Also last, it became just one of 5 qualified passers since the merger in 1970 with a 65-plus completion percentage. He had a 65.8 completion percentage, which is 18th in the NFL, but fewer than 180 yards passing per game. That's the other 4, David Carr in 2006, Kelly Holcomb in 2005, Cody Carlson in 1992, and an aging, very old 1983 Ken Anderson. I love you, Ken Anderson. Please don't yell at me. So none of those 4 after that ever started 10-plus games again. So I think that, you look at those stats, a higher completion percentage, obviously a very low yards per game. What's that say? A lot of short passes. So when people want to talk about the adjusted stats, because I know I saw something where it said that Cam had a few batted balls. If you adjust it, then his completion percentage and accuracy is better than Tom Brady. Well, when you're throwing it 5 yards down the field, Sam Bradford once held the NFL record for completion percentage in a season because that was all he did. So here's the thing. Cam Newton, great dude, hard worker, nothing against him. It's not a good pro football starter anymore. I think he is a starting quarterback in the league. He's sure as hell not near the top tier. He's probably somewhere between that 20 and 26 mark, if you asked me. I don't think that you can really win a Super Bowl with Cam Newton anymore. I think we've seen him very much peak. I think now it's just a gradual decline. I get that, if Cam and Julio are boys, obviously, there's a ton of guys who are, tight around the league. And if they're tight, then yeah, obviously there's a reason that Julio will want to go there if Cam's there. It doesn't make sense to me if Julio wants to win. And I get that Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. But as of right now, it seems like, Don Shula went through a rebuild too in his latter years. So it's not as if, as great as Bill Belichick is, he's not a guaranteed playoff berth right now. So, let me ask you this.
How much do you think the Mac Jones being the pick has to do with this? Because Julio Jones is smart. He understands that Cam Newton eventually, whether it's this year, next year, is not going to be the starter. If you go anywhere, you're probably going there for the end of your career because it's going to be 3 more years that you're still under contract.
Right.
Does he like the idea that, okay, I get to play with my boy for a little bit, and then the next year, Mac Jones is ready to go, if not this year. Remember, that decision is not his. So as much as he likes Cam, if Bill says Mac's starting, Mac's starting. And what's Julio going to do? Julio's going to play. So do you think that has anything to do with it as well, where he looks at it like, hey, Mac is going to be there. I can play with Cam no matter what happens. Also, I don't know what this means, but tinfoil hat time. MAC backwards is CAM.
Look.
I'm sorry, Jared.
Julio Jones isn't an idiot, obviously. Also, hello to Vish in the comments. Julio Jones isn't an idiot. He knows that, sooner or later, Mac's going to be the starter. I would bank that it's going to be at some point this year that Mac starts. We look back at all the recent quarterbacks. The last one who's really redshirted was Patrick Mahomes, and even that was an albatross compared to a bunch of other guys that have come through. I think the real last redshirt, quote-unquote, was Carson Palmer back in 2003. If I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if he, obviously there's a connection between the two from, both going to Alabama. So obviously I'm assuming that he knows a little bit about Mac. So if he likes what he sees and he has both those in his, like, I can go play with Cam for a little bit. That's my guy. Then right after I get Mac for a little bit, I like what I saw from him. The Alabama connection. I think that could definitely play into it. That means that Julio Jones sees a lot more in Mac Jones than some do. That said, I don't think that there's really, if Mac was going to go anywhere and succeed, it was New England. So yeah. I do think that, that could have a lot to do with it. So whether that is where he goes, I know that's where a lot of people are putting him right now. And if that is the case, then so be it. The only thing that it's just funny, I tweeted this out earlier. There's one specific group of people on Twitter that are very easy to rile up, and it is fans of the running quarterback who that same quarterback has trouble throwing the ball. They're easy to rile up. It's fun too. So everyone who is a fan of the Patriots and a fan of Cam is saying, "Oh, we get Julio guaranteed playoff spot." Calm down, because look at the record of Atlanta since 2013. I believe they've had 2 winning seasons in that span with a better quarterback. Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than Cam Newton. So I think that it's just funny watching Bostonians go crazy on Twitter because they're excited about getting Julio Jones, but that assuming that solves all their problems, then it brings a giggle to my soul. I'm not going to lie to you, Jason Aponte. It makes me laugh.
So let me play devil's advocate against that. Or
yeah, sure.
All right. So when you look at the way that they've constructed this roster over the offseason, you bring in 2 tight ends, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. Kendrick Bourne's going to play intermediate. Nelson Aguilar is a deep threat. They really do need an alpha 1. Yeah, exactly. They really do need an alpha 1. So as the way that he fits in this roster, I like it. I like where he fits. But if your concerns are the quarterback, then that's something completely different. But I completely see where he fits here. And I can see why Patriot fans would be excited. Listen, Julio Jones is my favorite player in the league. And I've been beating the drum as Julio Jones wide receiver 1 for 3-4 years, and I fight everyone on it. All right, this is scoring enough touchdowns. I don't care. He is one of the most efficient wide receivers in the world. If you went into a lab and you built a wide receiver, that receiver would be Julio Jones. That's who that would be. And here's the thing, and I'm going to turn this into the 49ers. Here's the thing. 32 years old. He missed 7 games last year. Now, for the injury people, here's where I think the narrative has been twisted. Being injured and missing games and being injured and playing through games are 2 different things, okay? For 3 years before that, I don't think he missed a game. Now, anybody who's ever played fantasy football knows that Julio Jones is on the injury report every single week, questionable, game time call, basically, ready to go. But he plays through all those things. Last year was a hamstring. Hamstrings happen. It's not like it was a knee. It's not like it was an ACL, anything like that, So I think it's a little bit overblown when it comes to the injuries. My concern, now when we turn it to the 49ers, my concern with the idea of the 49ers trading is, what are you trading? They've already traded how much to get Trey Lance, okay, which is a risk. Now, I don't care if everybody likes the pick like I do. We all like the pick. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a risk. And now you're talking about pushing draft capital away. And what happens if Julio Jones comes here and is hurt all the time and doesn't play? And it feels like when you get Julio Jones, that's like an all-in win right now move, because you have to win while he's here, especially when you talk about the money that he's going to cost across the 3 years. Sure, kick around the money. Parag will make it happen. The cap's not real. We know all of those things. I just have a little bit of concern when it comes to age. And also, what draft capital are you going to send away at this point? Again, my favorite player in the league, for the first time since Terrell Owens was in this league, my favorite player in the league could be on my team. Could happen. At the same time, I have to throw caution to the wind with what you're sending over, what the expectations of this team becomes, because now people are going to start saying, you need to win now. And his concerns about age 33, age 34, age 35. It's nothing worse than watching one of your favorite players, just like decline. Not that I'm saying that Julio will. If anybody can defy the odds and beat it all, it's robot Julio. But at the same time, those are my concerns when it comes to this. My concerns really just come in with, what's it going to take to get him? Because you're not going to be able to just say, hey, Atlanta, we'll send you a 3rd or 4th. Remember, I believe they have $320,000 in cap, I believe, in Atlanta or something like that. Like it's
a tight cap over there in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's definitely like that. Yeah. So it's that, like, they're not moving Julio because he's bad. They're moving Julio because they have to, and he's the only person that they can move at this point. Here's the other thing that kind of conflicts with everything. You didn't take a quarterback when you could have, so you're not looking to the future. Drafting Kyle Pitts kind of leads me to believe that you guys think that you're going to compete this year. Trading Julio away kind of knocks all that out of the way if you even believe that. Now, look, I don't believe that Atlanta has a chance to compete because we've talked about it. Their defense is bad.
Oh, yeah.
But if you get rid of Julio, you're punting the season. Did you draft Kyle Pitts to take Julio's spot? No. So it doesn't line up. Like, I don't understand the thought process and I don't understand the moves. If you can maybe try to at least give me some sort of clarity.
I can try to give you a little bit of clarity. As great as Julio Jones is, a great wide receiver isn't necessarily a guarantee for wins, and we've seen that several times. So what they could be trying to do here is, all right, Julio costs a decent amount. Let's trade him, get some capital for the future, and let's go sign a guy like maybe Steven Nelson, who's still a free agent. They could bring him in. He would be their immediate minimum CB2. I don't know who else they got at cornerback over there. I know they drafted somebody last year whose name is escaping me right now. I believe they took him in the first round or second round. So they could use whatever money they get back in terms of cap space after trading Julio Jones and try to get somebody. You know, they drafted Richie Grant, and I was so upset to see my favorite player from Mobile go to Atlanta of all places. So that broke my heart a little bit, but it was a good pick. You know, they got a safety that's going to be a ball hawk for them now. You know, their front seven, they need work all over their defense. So it's, if they think, all right, you know, we just got Kyle Pitts, we have Calvin Ridley, who's really good. You know, they still need a running back. They didn't take one for whatever reason. So it seems like as of right now, it's going to be the Mike Davis show in Atlanta, which, holy God.
You see his thighs?
I get his thighs are big, but like nothing about Mike Davis's career says RB1.
No, I mean, the only thing that people can point to is last year when Christian McCaffrey went down. He was actually really good.
He was really good.
But he was really good catching passes out of the backfield. It wasn't like he was efficient running the ball or anything like that, but he still has wiggle and he makes people miss. Again, it's not ideally who you want to get into with your RB1, but he is at this point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Also, real quick, two things that I want to get rid of, okay?
Sure.
Niners for football, Yankees for baseball. My family is from the Bronx, not a bandwagoner, and I'm not a Blazers fan. I am a Carmelo Anthony fan. And put some respect on my guy's name, okay? One more thing. Jason looks like he's 5'8", 140. I am 100% 6'5". My arms are 5'8". My arms are 5'8".
Let me also jump in here. I'm 5'8", 140, actually. That's, if you would have said me, you would have knocked it out of the park. So you kind of flip-flop those, and yeah, you're right. And also, I'm not a Kings fan by any means. I like basketball jerseys, and Jason Williams is one of my favorite players of all time. So I got a white chocolate jersey. So
my bad. I just wanted to address that. Keep going.
Yeah. And somebody also commented AJ Terrell. That's who they drafted last year.
That is what it is.
Yes. So there's a lot of flaws that they still have. By no means are they going to compete this year. I think all their problems aren't going to be solved this year, but they know that if they move Julio, they can at least get some pieces, you know, together this year, and then next year they can continue building it. But, you know, they haven't won anything with Julio Jones, and I think they realize that. And they've got a guy in Calvin Ridley who's capable of being a number one receiver. They bring in a guy like Kyle Pitts that they can put all over that offense. So, you know, I don't think that trading Julio Jones is a horrible move for Atlanta. You know, like I said, they haven't really won anything with him there. So they need to focus on getting better defensively. And with the money, what is Julio's cap hit? Do you know? I can look it up real quick.
If I'm not mistaken, I think what he makes, I believe, is like $10 to $12 million this year, but I think it goes up year to year. And again, look, the money is the least of the concerns because you can kick that around. The cap's about to go up, things like that. That's not the biggest concern. It's really not the money. It's more about the age and what do you have to give up to get him. And remember, Atlanta's moving Julio because they have to. They have no money right. They haven't even signed their draft picks yet. They haven't signed one draft pick yet. So
I'm not trying to cut you off, but I will. Last Second Sports got me with a funny YouTube comment. No wide receiver top 5 with Bryce at 4 this week, Jarrett. That's funny. It's very funny. I will. That's very good. Yes, very, very good. No, wide receiver list will be coming later this week, though, so I can tease that.
Goodness gracious.
So that was funny. But yeah, I mean,
real quick before we go on to our next thing.
Yeah.
So the amount of hate that you got for your quarterback list, all I had to do to wreak havoc on the internet is put out a common thought that Friends is trash. And people were like out with their pitchforks. I had people in my YouTube comments. I had people sending me horrible messages on Twitter. I thought this was commonly known. I didn't know that this was such a big deal. I really didn't.
The thing about, I mean, I like Friends, but I 100% understand why people hate it. It is, there's no middle ground with Friends. You either love it or you despise it. I 100% understand why people hate Friends. It's either something that you find funny or you don't find funny. I will say this much. Each character does have moments of being incredibly annoying, specifically Monica, Ross, and sometimes Rachel. Now, somebody just said How I Met Your Mother. That's just like...
I've never seen that, so I'm not going to comment on that.
I will. It's horrible. Sorry, a guy called Ed. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Neil Patrick Harris. I think he's a phenomenal actor. That show is like... There's analogies that I can make, but I won't here because it's just not appropriate. But to chime in on the Julio cap hit, though.
Yep.
So let me find his cap hit. 2021, $23 million cap hit this year for Julio. Next year, $19 million. 2023, $19 million. So pretty big cap hit that they'll be taking off their books. Base salary for him this year is about $15 million. So that would be... I mean, it's a lot of money they would get back. I don't know what would be the penalty if they trade him or anything. I don't. Yeah.
Again, look, it's not up to us about what's going to happen. If Julio Jones ends up as a 49er, cool. I'm with it. I'm so excited because my favorite player is on the team. I just have those concerns when it comes to what you have to give up, and Atlanta's not going to give him away for nothing, and they shouldn't. So let's just see how it plays out. He says he wants to go to New England to play with Cam. The 49ers feel like a really perfect fit. Like he can walk in day one and understand the entire playbook from Kyle. Another team that I think really, really is like laying in the weeds that people aren't really talking about, the Colts. If he goes over there,
if he goes to the Colts, oh man, I hope he goes to the Colts. Here's the thing.
Why?
I love Carson Wentz. What do you mean? Why?
No, I wasn't trying to. I think the Colts are incredible. I just wanted to see why.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a great fit. You know, they could use one more weapon offensively. T.Y. Hilton is good. Michael Pittman's all right. If they get Julio Jones and add that, I mean, you can automatically make T.Y. Hilton a very good number 2, Michael Pittman a very good number 3 that you can put in the slot. They would be right. I mean, right now they're my absolute favorites to win the AFC South. If they get Julio Jones, I think that offense has the absolute sky's the limit.
That's a beautiful segue into division by division predictions. Hey, look, it's May 23rd. We're gonna go ahead and use this time to fill up some content. I believe you already put out all your predictions. Do you have those in front of you that you want to run through?
So that was the 1.0 version of this. I usually do 2 per year. I'll do 1 right after the draft. I do 1 during training camp. So this was the 1.0 version of these, and we can just kind of go division by division. We'll start in the AFC North. Cleveland 12-5, and again, I went every game by game for every team. So I would go one team at a time just so I could really just keep one team just focused. So I have Cleveland going 12-5, winning the AFC North, and they are the 3 seed in the AFC. I have Pittsburgh going 11-6. They are my 6 seed. Baltimore 9-8, Cincinnati 7-10.
I really have no qualms with any of those. If I had to list them that way, I would. That's exactly how I would put them in order. Cleveland is so stacked right now, honestly. And we've talked about it a bunch on this show.
Oh, yeah.
All the additions that they've made on defense in that secondary, goodness gracious. You know, Stefanski, coach of the year, they're going to run the hell out of the ball. They are stacked. This Cleveland team is ready to go, man. And you know, I know this isn't something you want to hear because they're division rivals. It's almost like me saying the Arizona Cardinals are on their way up. Nobody wants to hear that. But Cleveland right now, they're your biggest competition, man. They're ready to go. So, yes, and here's the thing. I see this comment, JK, Cleveland's success hinges on how Baker progresses. I'm not certain that that's really true, honestly, because if you watch how Stefanski's going to run that thing 30, 45 times and make him make those play action easy throws, which Baker showed he was capable. Baker took a step last year. He was not bad at all. And when you look at that defense isn't going to give up much. So those games are always going to be close. They're never going to be having to put Baker in situations where he has to like throw himself back into the game. So I think Cleveland is boring in the sense that it's all defense and running the ball. But honestly, that's the stuff that pushes you into a Super Bowl. That's the stuff that wins in postseasons. That's the stuff that is hard to beat on the road. That stuff travels. So that's really what it is with Cleveland. Hey, if he takes a step, they're even more dangerous.
Exactly.
They're even more dangerous where they don't have to take the wheels off him. And they're already talking about extending him and everything as well, too. Yeah. So honestly, for me, Cleveland is the team that you need to be worried about. Pittsburgh's going to be fine. they'll be in there. And I agree with you with the Ravens, man. Unfortunately, I'm not as down on Lamar Jackson as you are. But as long as Greg Roman's there, I cannot get excited about this team. I really cannot. This is going to be the third year of them doing it. They're not going to change anything different. They're just going to have him throwing to tight ends. They're going to have him running the ball, putting himself in harm's way. They're going to have him handing off the entire time, using zone read. There's going to be nothing different about this offense. I love Rashad Bateman, hate the spot for him. But unfortunately, until Greg Roman goes, I hate to say this, Lamar Jackson was a unanimous MVP. I still don't think we've seen the absolute ceiling from him. If we actually get a creative play caller that once people adjust, he can adjust back. So that's really what it is with Baltimore. I'm not as down on Lamar Jackson as you are. I understand what he brings to the team, but I would just love to see him get paired up with somebody else. As a 49er fan who has dealt with Greg Roman, I just have PTSD watching him stunt the growth of another quarterback.
Yeah, and I will say that Ed commented again, switch Baltimore and Pittsburgh's records. Why would I do – what does Baltimore have that's better than Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's got a better defense than them. Pittsburgh has a better offense than them. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Lamar threw a pick six in the game that in Baltimore, right? Against
right to Robert Spillane, right in his lap in the first minute of the game, and I hopped out of my seat and almost hit my head on the ceiling. Anyway, no, you look at what Baltimore's lost this season. They lost Unique Ngakoue. They lost Matt Judon. That front seven isn't very good. Their whole defense right now is Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. What else do they have? Nothing elite. LJ Fort, yeah, great. What else do they really have defensively? I guess is Calais Campbell still there? I guess you can make the argument for that. Other than that, it's a three-man defense for them. Offensively, I've said this a trillion times on every show I do. When Lamar Jackson takes that next step forward in terms of throwing the ball, I'll proudly admit I'm wrong. That's fine. Until he does, I'm not going to because I'm not. So until they can prove, one, that they can beat great teams, and two, that Lamar Jackson can consistently throw the ball deep outside the numbers, which go back and watch the Tennessee playoff game for a perfect example of how he cannot.
The arm punt?
Yes, the arm punt. I'm not worried about Baltimore. I think Pittsburgh beats them twice again. I think their 2 division losses come. I think they'll lose to Cincinnati once. I think they'll lose to Cleveland once. And last year in the game in Baltimore, the Ravens ran for 265 yards, but Lamar turned the ball over 4 times. So until he proves to me that he can beat a great defense, not worried about him. So, and whether that's fair or not, you can call it bias. I don't care.
All right. I think we're good. I think we're good with the AFC North. What's your next division?
AFC South.
Let's go.
Colts 11-6. They are my number 4 seed. Tennessee 8-9. Jacksonville 4-13. The Texans might win a game. I gave them 1-16.
I don't really disagree with anything. Honestly, I think that the Tennessee Titans have a lot of holes on this roster right now. It's going to be straight up run the ball with Henry. A.J. Brown's going to get every single target. He's just going to get.
I don't know who they're going to throw to other than A.J. Brown. Now, they took Racey McMath out of LSU, and so many better guys were on the board. They drafted the school rather than the player. Your guy, Austin Watkins, who landed in San Francisco, is still on the board. I believe Shi Smith was still on the board out of South Carolina. I could be wrong on that. I know Shi Smith went later in the draft than I expected. There was a lot of guys that they could have taken there, but they drafted Racey McMath because he went to LSU. And then you look, I love the Caleb Farley pick. I hope to God that he stays healthy because if he stays healthy, then they've got a very good cornerback there. Christian Fulton, a guy that they drafted last year, they're bringing Jack Rabbit. They also draft Greg Newsome. So they realized what their problems were. I mean, they lost their top 3 cornerbacks and they went and addressed that. So good for them. They bring in Bud Dupree, Denico Autry. It's just a matter of, can that extremely young secondary, excluding Jack Rabbit, play well? Last year it was a solid secondary, horrible pass rush. Now it's probably solid pass rush, question mark in the secondary. And we have no idea who Ryan Tannehill is going to throw the ball to. So I think it's just going to be too much of a one-trick pony offensively, not enough talent defensively to get the job done. So I think they'll be around that 8-9 range.
Right. I mean, and it's very possible that they win a few more games just based on Mike Vrabel getting them ready to go and Jack and things like that. They're pretty solid, honestly, when it comes to big games. Unfortunately, they couldn't finish out the Chiefs 2 years ago and things like that. They didn't lose to Baltimore, right? They did, right? Or
they lost to Baltimore in the playoffs last year, yeah.
Crazy, right? So, I mean, it's more about that team was a little bit more full. I mean, you lose Malcolm Butler, you don't really lose anything there. Anybody that you kind of replace him with is going to be an upgraded.
Malcolm Butler minus the interception is probably a third cornerback on every other team.
So that's what I'm saying. So no disrespect to Malcolm Butler, but honestly, anybody that you bring in, that's a little bit of an upgrade. I just worry more about the pass catchers. Jonathan Smith was there. Corey Davis is gone.
It's Adam Humphries as well.
Right. Adam Humphries is gone. So it's A.J. Brown. It's Josh Reynolds. It's Anthony Ferkser.
And Racey McMath. Like, that's pretty much what they're rolling with right now.
that doesn't really, I mean, honestly, at this point, if you're a defensive coordinator, shade everybody towards A.J. Brown and hope that you can.
I'm quadruple covering A.J. Brown and saying, all right, beat me. Good luck.
All right, but I want to talk about the Colts a little bit because you touched on it. I think that they're loaded, man. Honestly, Carson Wentz, Pittman, T.Y. is on his way out. Paris Campbell's somebody nobody's talking about at all either. And look, I'm sorry for being the guy that continues to harp on a player who hasn't been able to stay on the field, but I feel like when healthy, if healthy, he could be a slot guy who's going to actually be very, very helpful.
He's to them. So fast.
Yes. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. Marlon Mack's back. They're going to run the hell out of the ball.
Their ground game's nasty.
Yeah, their offensive line is going to be lit like that. And Frank Reich with Carson Wentz, I really believe that this team is going to be tough. That 49ers-Colts game is a game that I am locked in on. I can't wait to see this game, not only for the obvious reasons of the DeForest Buckner revenge game, but more just because I feel like that's going to be one of the first tests for the 49ers, realistically, to know where they're at. Because you look at their schedule and you look at their first 3 games, I don't care if Aaron Rodgers is there, which I doubt he will be at this point. I really don't think he's playing this year. So you're talking about Detroit, that's a win. Philly, that's a win. Jordan Love or Blake Bortles starts in week 3 at home opener, that's a win. Week 4 against Seattle, who knows what happens. But I feel like the real big test outside of, divisional games are always going to be tough, are going to be the Colts on Sunday Night Football. So that's the game that I'm zeroed in on.
Oh, it's a Sunday Night Football game.
Yes.
Oh.
That game's going to be lit.
Is it in San Francisco or in Indy?
It's in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Santa Clara. My bad. Santa Clara.
Yeah.
But yes, honestly, I really am excited to see the Colts play football this year. I really think that they have something there. I think that it was the most obvious landing spot for Carson Wentz. It had to be Frank Reich. It had to be Frank Reich. Couldn't be anybody else.
No.
So I think they're going to be great. I'm sorry, Jarrett.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be fantastic. There's 2 quarterbacks revenge tours who I'm looking forward to this year. We're going to touch on the other one later. One of them is Carson Wentz. Cannot wait to see him in a Colts uniform. And I really hope he tears it up. And I think that if everything goes well, the Colts have all the capabilities of making maybe an AFC championship run. Maybe.
That's why this is 1.0. We get to change it at 2.0 once we get
it. Yeah.
keep going, though. What's the next division?
AFC East, Buffalo Bills 13-4, number 2 seed in the AFC. Miami Dolphins 10-7. They are the 7th and final wild card in the AFC. Then we've got the Patriots at 8-9, the Jets at 6-11.
I really have no problems with that. And when you say Jets 6-11, that 6-11 is going to be the most impressive 6-11 you've ever seen, if that makes any sense.
They're going to be dogs this year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to lose a lot of games just based on not being there, not having the experience, but they're going to be competing in all those games. I cannot wait to see this Jets team perform. I love all the moves that they've made. You talked about Elijah Moore in the slot. You talked about Corey Davis on the outside with Denzel Mims. My guy, Michael Carter's over there, who's going to, like, we talked to him in Mobile, and we told his parents, remember? Get him in the Shanahan system and let him flourish. Well, this is the closest thing that he's going to get to a Shanahan system.
That it is.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see the kid perform. Honestly, it's going to be right here in my backyard. I don't have a second favorite team, but if I have a team that I'm keeping my eye on, it's the Jets. Completely agree with you on the Bills. The Bills are going to be absolutely great this year, honestly. Josh Allen takes another step. God help the rest of the league. Miami is so interesting. Honestly, they're the ones that they're going to be fine because, like we saw in Mobile, Flores is – he walks in a room and you sit there and you –
He walks into a room and he takes control of it.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to say much, right? And when you watch the practices, right, he starts the practice and he ends the practice. He doesn't do anything during the practice or anything like that. But he commands your attention. He commands the room. You have to pay attention to him. That guy, when they said, hey, you can ask him questions, I was like, I'm not asking Brian Flores.
I'm going to sit here and listen to everybody else ask questions.
I don't want him to ask me a question and grab me by the shirt. What'd you say? I didn't do anything. I'm sorry.
Exactly. So,
but Miami's fluctuating. Just to put a cap on it, Miami is it can go one of two ways. It can continue to go where it's going, but I'm not a big Tua believer. I'm really just not, and that has nothing to do with his style of play or anything like that. I get nervous about him, and I feel like Flores at certain points kind of mishandled that situation, and it's the same kind of thing that you're going to see. The same kind of thing that you might see with Trey Lance. It's like, man, if you're going to turn it over to Tua, don't put in Fitz if he's having a bad game. Like, if you turn it over to him, you're turning it over to him, and this is what you're doing. But you turned it over to him when they were winning a bunch of games. He saved them in that Raiders game, Fitzpatrick. And I just worry, right? So you get him Waddle, you get him Will Fuller, you still have Devontae Parker, Myles Gaskin's there.
Mike Gesicki.
yeah, Gesicki's there. They've got guys. I just more worry about Tua than I do anybody else, honestly, on this roster.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big determining factor. And I remember watching a thing about Eli Manning and Kurt Warner and Eli Manning's rookie year. And when Tom Coughlin said that he was going to go with Eli Manning, Kurt Warner told him personally, hey, if you're going to go with him, do not put me back in because you're going to murder his confidence if you do that.
Yes.
They pulled Tua for fits not once, but twice. They did in the Raider game and the Bronco game. Look, I'm not ginormous on Tua, but I mean, I don't have too much qualms about him because you watch him at Alabama, he's got the arm strength and he's got the accuracy. I think he was just a deer in headlights a lot last year where it was just a little bit sped up for him and it was different. It was new. Obviously, you get to that next level, it's going to be a little bit different. And it just took him a while. Now, he did have moments where he looked good. The game against Arizona, he looked great. So I think it's a matter of, just having him go into a season knowing he's the starter. They get him some help. You mentioned Will Fuller, who actually just got hurt after you said his name.
No, I didn't. No, he didn't. Don't do that.
So it's like a Beetlejuice. If you say it, then it just it happens. So I'm sorry, Will Fuller. I know. I promise to stop.
What's funny?
I promise to stop picking on Will Fuller when I'm dead.
No, but he didn't get hurt last year. He got
suspended. Which I assume he started taking because he was always hurt. It came full circle. So, but yes, they did get him a little bit of help. Defensively, they're really good. So I'm going to give Tua and the Dolphins the benefit of the doubt. I think he can take a step forward. And if he takes a step forward, then I like Miami. But if not, then they're going to be. It's going to be a problem. New England, we already touched on it. I'm not a big believer in the offense. Defensively, they were mediocre last year. And then the Jets are going to be the funnest 6-11 team we've ever seen. So that's the AFC East.
Let's go.
All right, AFC West, the Chiefs, 15-2. My God, they're good at football. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chargers, 12-5. They are going to be my biggest riser this year. They're the 5th and first wild card team in the AFC. Broncos, 9-8. I know I'm making a lot on that quarterback situation, but I love their defense and I love their weapons. So I will give whoever their quarterback is, if it's Drew Lock, we'll touch on this in a minute. But yes, 9-8 for Denver. This one was hard for me, and I'm going to revise it in the second one, but I got the Raiders I have the Raiders winning 2 games.
Well, here's my problem with the Raiders. The one thing that they had really going for them was that offensive line, and then you just sell them all off. I don't understand, honestly, man. It's like, hey, what's our best thing? Offensive line. Cool.
Let's get rid of it.
Let's cut them and let's trade them. Like, what on earth? And then here's the problem. I love Henry Ruggs. Horrible fit. It just doesn't work, especially with the way that Derek Carr plays. I love Smokey Brown. Why? He does not fit there, honestly. I don't think they'll win 2 games, but they are not going to do anything. Honestly.
Like I said, this is 1.0. When I was going game by game for them, I was like, yep, loss. Maybe a win. Sure, we'll give them 1. Dude.
Wait, Jarrett, there was a TikTok out there. You know that there's bottle service in Vegas, in their stadium, right behind the.
They got a club,
yeah, they have a whole club. Okay, so there was a TikTok of a guy saying, when you're working in the club and Derek Carr's the quarterback, and he's like holding up the bottle, and the guy's like hitting him in the face with the ball. No, but honestly, look, here's my problem. Roster construction is so important, and fit is so important. Henry Ruggs, I wanted him for the 49ers that year. I wrote articles about it. I banged the drum for him being there because I wanted somebody who was a deep threat. Obviously, I was off when it came to those things because Brandon Ayuk is everything and more. But at the same time, you have to look at how your quarterback plays. If your quarterback's not throwing the ball down the field, why on earth are you even trying to get Henry Ruggs to do those things? Because they weren't even designing screens for him, anything like that last year. Nelson Aguilar was their best receiver last year, and he got paid based off of that. So for me, when you bring in a Smokey Brown, who is not just a burner, so I just want to make sure we put that out there. He's definitely not just a burner. At the same time, he's in the twilight of his career. He didn't have to go. I don't understand why he went there when he could have went somewhere else to chase a ring. But then you weaken the offensive line. And then Josh Jacobs is really good. And you bring in Kenyon Drake.
Along with getting rid of the offensive line, too.
It's like, what are you allocating your resources to? Is Al Davis still alive? Or is this just the ghost of Al Davis that's pressing the buttons for this team? And also, let's just put it out there, if I haven't already, which I feel like I have, John Gruden's an awful head coach. One of the worst in the league, easily, and one of the most overrated, overpraised head coaches in the world. Don't make me start to get into how he won his Super Bowl because I'm tired of talking about that, and I feel like it's common knowledge at this point. The Raiders are just baffling at this point with their decision making, with their roster construction, with how they're deciding to move this team. This team is not going anywhere this year. And if this ends up on freezing cold takes, then whatever, I'll eat it. But I doubt it. Honestly, I really doubt it. It makes no sense how they put this roster together at this point. And I really don't fear them in any way. I don't think anybody else should.
Yeah. Did I tell you I'm working on my Gruden impression?
Do it.
Oh, but it's still very raw.
All right. So we'll say
I can kind of go into it for a minute, but no, I just feel like, you said the ghost of Al Davis. No, it's Mark Davis. It's his son.
Davis.
So it's, I don't know what's going on with the trio of Davis and Mayock and Gruden, because they draft after draft since they've gotten there, it's been putrid. And the roster construction has been bad. I just feel like Gruden kind of looks at this roster. It's like, I tell you what, man, we're gonna have six tight ends this year. I tell you what, man. I tell you what,
Jarrett, bang on the table 2 times if we're winning 2 games.
I tell you what, man. Hey, spider through white banana.
Spider through white banana. Let me tell you, man.
I tell you what, man. No, look, and like I said, this is 1.0. I'm very much going to go back. It was just looking at this and just thinking of, okay, bad offensive line. I love Derek Carr. I do. And I wish he was somewhere else I really hurt my finger doing that. I'm not going to lie. I like Derek Carr a lot. You look at his last year, 27 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions, north of 4,000 yards passing. Derek Carr sure as hell isn't the problem. Defensively, they're bad. They don't have a pass rush. Didn't really address that too much. Secondary, yeah, not very good either.
Oh, wait, but Max Crosby's better than Nick Bosa. He has so many more pressures.
I like Max Crosby. I'm not going to lie to you.
He's fine, but I have Raider fans yelling at me all the time about that. And I'm like, dude, I popped on the film of his first year. There was like 4 or 5 sacks that he had where he was completely uncovered. Stop it. That's not the same thing at all. Like, again, sacks is not the way that you measure a pass rusher, in my opinion. It's pressures. It's how much you're disrupting the quarterback, honestly, more than anything. And Max Crosby's a fine player. But stop it, Raider fans. They want to beat the 49ers so bad. They just want to compete with the Niners, and they're in a whole other state now. Cali let you go.
The Raiders fans also get butthurt about the immaculate reception because I did my forgotten NFL history on Ken Stabler's touchdown run before the immaculate reception, and they were not happy. Fun fact. Although Ken Stabler's wife did retweet it, so there's that.
There you go. I have one more thing I want to touch on real quick before we move. The Denver Broncos. Who is
yes, we do need it. I don't know. That's the thing. Here's the thing. I will say this. I like Drew Lock. I feel like we look at now. Last year he was hurt, came back, was bad. Last few games played a little bit better. Rookie year, came in later in the season, played really well. I want to see him not get injured. I want to see him, with a whole off season of, all right, you're number one, just stay healthy, go see what he can do, because he's got a cannon. He's talented. It's just a matter of his decision-making can sometimes be really bad. And I want him to be good. I like Drew Lock, and I hope he's good. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater will take the reins at some point. Maybe I think there's a good chance that Teddy Bridgewater does take over early in the season, maybe. And if he does that, well, then we've seen what he can do with a great team around him. I think that the Broncos have a very good defense and good weapons. So, if that's the case, I think that could be an 8-9 win team.
So what are the percentages? So let me ask you this.
Okay.
They're on the board. Justin Fields is there. And they take Patrick Surtain. And they say, we like Justin Fields a lot. We just like Surtain better.
We like Aaron Rodgers more.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. Either this screams to gross incompetence, or that you are making a move for Aaron Rodgers. Let me ask you this. In a hypothetical Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory land world, Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback. How does that change the Denver Broncos dynamic, and are they challenging the Chiefs for first place?
I'll tell you this. I think the Chiefs still win the division, but I think the Bills are the 1 seed because they ain't beating – Patrick Mahomes is not beating Denver twice if Aaron Rodgers is there. Mm-hmm. The Chargers aren't beating Denver twice if Aaron Rodgers is there. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Broncos, minimum they're an 11-win team. Okay. That defense is really good. Those weapons are disgusting, whether it's Jerry Jeudy, whether it's KJ Hamler, whether it's Tim Patrick. I am very in love with their offense. If they can get Noah Fant too, Albert O. Like they are.
Javonte? They got Javonte Williams too. Like just and
They
Melvin
did?
Gordon.
Am I
Yeah,
forgetting something?
They drafted Javonte Williams.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I'm sorry.
And you know, Melvin
I was
Gordon.
thinking of Jamal Williams for some reason.
No.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams is in Detroit.
Detroit. Yeah, that's why I was like, what the hell did this continue?
No, Javonte Williams is there. Melvin Gordon still has the DUI thing hanging over his head. Doesn't matter. He has one more year, and running backs are replaceable, honestly. And Javonte Williams, if anybody's willing to step in right away for Melvin Gordon, it's Javonte Williams. I agree with you, bro. If Aaron Rodgers ends up there, Denver's lit again, honestly, this year. And he's so good still. But at the same time, Green Bay, I feel like Green Bay's got their nails dug into this where they're just like, I don't care. If you don't play this year, then don't play, retire, go to Jeopardy, but we're not giving you away for peanuts, which just speaks to more about, you know, we'll get to the Packers when we get to their division. But the way the Packers are being run right now, it makes absolutely no sense. And the reason that I mean that is, look at their draft picks. Jordan Love, when there was so many other receivers on the board that you could have had, Jordan Love has progressed so much or so little. You're not even having him active on game days. And the Packers were involved in games that they were absolutely blowing people out during the year. You thought that little of him that even when Aaron Rodgers has a 25, 30-point lead on people, we still can't put Jordan Love in. Like, we still can't even have him mess around and just get some reps. He's that bad. I don't know if he'll be good in this league. I'm not here to predict any of that. Yeah. But him being inactive every single day on game day speaks way more to his development and what this team thinks of him. They cannot fumble the bag and turn this over to Jordan Love or Blake the Snake Bortles. So
the boat.
It's more about Green Bay. I just don't understand what they're doing. Again, they needed a receiver this year again. What'd they do? Drafted a quarterback.
I took Amari Rodgers.
Okay, I love Amari Rodgers. I do. I really do. If Aaron Rodgers isn't the quarterback, Amari Rodgers helps you none. And Amari Rodgers doesn't move the needle with Aaron Rodgers there. I mean, I get it. Aaron Rodgers, Amari Rodgers, same initials. But it doesn't move the needle for him. He could have had Brandon Ayuk, who they wanted, or they could have had, whoever it was that was on the board still. So it's just, I don't know what they're doing. Are they intentionally pissing off Aaron Rodgers to the point where he's just like, I'm done with this team? So here's the last tipping point with that. On Jeopardy, when he's on Jeopardy, someone says, why did you kick the field goal when you were down 8? And he's like, that's a good question. And he just moved on. And even after the press conference, he was pretty much like, don't ask me. I'm not in control of those things. Mm-hmm. Dude, there's so much going on there. Aaron Rodgers has so much left in the tank. And for him to say to San Francisco, hey, come get me, he's done there. He's done. And they're not going to move him. They just aren't. And he's not going anywhere, honestly, at this point. But if he goes to Denver, then, they're lit. What else we got? Where are we moving on to?
Well, it's a beautiful transition into the NFC North because that is what is next. And I operated under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers would not be there. So
perfect.
So I got Minnesota. I mean, I feel like they're kind of the best team there. That's a low bar. I have them going 9-8, finishing fourth or with the fourth seed in the NFC. Then have Chicago at 7-10.
Who's Chicago's starting quarterback week 1?
I would say Justin Fields will be the starter by week 5. I'll say that much.
Okay.
Detroit 5-12.
5-12 is generous.
Yeah, let's look. I think that the staff that Dan Campbell has put together is good enough to get them there. I'll say that.
I'll give you that.
And I loved their draft. So I'll give them 5-12. I think it's a good foundation builder to go forward. And then Green Bay 4-13. If Aaron Rodgers isn't there, and that might be being generous too. If Aaron Rodgers isn't there. So
I don't see how they win 4 games, whoever their quarterback is. Would be, if they win 4 games, then give Matt LaFleur the coach of the year. Yeah.
So that's how I operated, saying that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be there. I would give it to Minnesota. Now that 9-8 is still a little bit padded because, you're going to have your win over Green Bay. You're going to have your wins over Detroit. So it's, they're still not very good defensively. They got better through the draft in terms of the offensive line.
He's over there with Minnesota now too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that'll help. I'm leery of those over the hill cornerbacks and things like that.
I'm very, very, paying attention to the Patrick Peterson situation because, in terms of other cornerbacks there, I'm trying to think. I mean, Pat Peterson would be their starter in terms of being their CB1.
He's starting. Oh, he's starting. Yeah. Mike Hughes.
That was the other one. Yeah.
And who's the other one? Dantzler.
Is it Cam Dantzler?
Cam Dantzler, yep. Mm-hmm. They have some other people there. I mean, honestly, really, realistically, when it comes to how the Vikings are going to be winning games, and Mike Zimmer is fuming through the ears at this, it's going to be on offense. If you ever listen to any time that Mike Zimmer spoke after the Vikings played, it was about how bad the defense was. So that's why, listen.
Mike Zimmer's a defensive guy, too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati.
That's what I'm saying. He don't care. He don't care about how the offense performed. He does not care. Yes, you scored enough points to win the game, but all I heard was him, well, we got to get better defensively. I know 49er fans don't want to hear this, but Kirk Cousins has been amazing the last 2 years for them. Honestly.
Kirk Cousins gets so much crap for no reason whatsoever.
No, I'll tell you the reason. He's a quarterback.
He's a dork. Yeah, he's a dork. Yeah, he's a dork. That's fine.
That's it. That's what he gets heat for. But
you know who else is a dork? Wrestling reference. Kurt Angle was a dork. He was fun. I love Kurt Angle. Back to your point.
It's true. It's damn true. All right, you like that? See?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I go metal with a broken freaking neck.
So look, honestly, realistically, when it comes to Kirk Cousins, his last 2 years, his film and his numbers line up perfectly. Honestly, realistically, seriously, 49er fans, you really don't like him because he's a dork. But PFF loves to stir the pot today. And we could talk about this now because I won't put this on the timeline at all. And that's it. Whatever. People are going to clip this and go crazy on me on Twitter. The 4 quarterbacks they threw up there: Cousins, Garoppolo, Carr, Tannehill. Rank them. Ready? Tannehill, Cousins, Carr, Garoppolo. Sorry, guys. And please do not cite that he won 2 playoff games in 2019 as the reason why Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Kirk Cousins. Please do not cite that. And please do not cite the fact that the 49ers beat Minnesota and Kirk Cousins was the quarterback. Let me explain some stuff to you real quick. 28 passes in 2 games for Jimmy Garoppolo. If Kirk Cousins was asked to do the same exact thing, he'd have 2 wins. But if Kirk Cousins was asked to do a little bit more in those games, he would have. Here's the problem. The 49ers were just better. That's it. Like, where's the context lost? The context gets lost in this discussion so much when it comes to Kirk Cousins. The 49ers were just better than Minnesota. And they were able. Here's the other thing. Oh, God, I'm going to get killed for this. I don't care. Let's do it. Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception to Kendricks, then almost threw another one. The same type of ball.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Nobody saw the underneath. Yo, Kyle Shanahan said, that's it. Done.
We're running the ball forever.
We're going to run the ball this entire time. Do you guys get it? Look, I am not trying to slight Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a starting quarterback in this league. But anybody who can, with a straight face that looks you in the camera and says that Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Kirk Cousins, let me also say something else. Jimmy Garoppolo's played 1 full year. 1. What makes you think after 1 full year he's better than a guy who's put up 4,000 yards every single year that he's been in the league and actually played 16 games? The same thing with Derek Carr. The same thing with Ryan Tannehill. So, look, 49er fans, take the blinders off. Jimmy Garoppolo, there's 2 things that could be true. Jimmy Garoppolo had an amazing 2019, and he's still 4th on this list. Both can be true. You cannot tell me that a quarterback has had 1 good year, 1 full year, and that he's better than guys who have done it for years and years and years. That's the last thing that I'm going to say about this. That's it.
In terms of that PFF list, I would personally go Carr, Cousins, Tannehill, then Jimmy Garoppolo. But that's just
Carr over Tannehill and Cousins?
Derek Carr. Oh, here's the thing. Derek Carr doesn't have Derrick Henry to hand the ball to 47 times a game.
No, he doesn't.
Not saying Ryan Tannehill's terrible, but he gets a ginormous booster from the run game. Derek Carr does a lot on his own. Now, I will say Josh Jacobs is great, but Kirk Cousins also has a nice run game as well. It's kind of, I kind of want to tie Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins because I like them both a lot, but I would take both of them handedly over Tannehill and Garoppolo.
My thing is this. When I was seeing the list that were being thrown out, it was disparaging Kirk Cousins because Jimmy Garoppolo won all these games.
Well, that's because people use wins as quarterback stats, in which they're just incorrect, and then I don't pay attention to that because I'm not going to argue with people who are just asinine.
I am bigger on track record, right? I'm bigger on what do I know. What do I know? Every single year, Kirk Cousins plays every single game and throws for 4,000 yards and doesn't turn the ball over at a historic rate. I mean, not a historic rate, but he doesn't turn the ball over at the rate that Jimmy Garoppolo does. He just doesn't. So when you cite that playoff game for me, please cite it with the correct context. Once that second interception was dropped, Kyle Shanahan threw his play thing up and was just like, we're not letting this guy throw the ball again at all. And the 49ers defense was smothering enough that there was nothing that they could do on the other side of the ball. Please do not use that game as a way to knock down Kirk Cousins and lift up Jimmy Garoppolo. Sorry, let's move on because we're already almost close to an hour. We're probably not even going to get to the last segment, so let's just end it here at this point.
Beautiful.
With this segment. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So NFC South, Tampa Bay, number 1 seed in the NFC, 13-4. They brought back everybody from their Super Bowl run. They started to gel. Now it's just going to be a whole season of that. So number 2, Carolina Panthers, 9-8. It's a Sam Darnold revenge tour, and he's going to do fantastic, and I'm very excited to see it. So they're not going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be right in the mix till the very end. They're going to be playing meaningful football in December. So that's all you can really ask for in this first year. It's year 2 of the Matt Rule rebuild, and he's doing a hell of a job. So I think by year 3, they could be a wild card team. 9-8 for the Carolina Panthers. I might be even being generous with the Saints win total here. I got them going 7-10. Their defense will get them the most of it. It'll be Jameis. I'm not big on Jameis. You know that. So
Andrew Pasquini is like shaking a fist at you right
now.
I
know, and Drew knows I love him. And I'll sweet talk Drew by just talking about Double or Nothing and Darby Allin and all this wrestling things, and then he'll be back on my side, or it'll be fine. And then the Atlanta Falcons, 4th in the division, going 6-11. I got nothing to really. We already talked about Atlanta; they're bad defensively, and
yeah, we can get through this division pretty quickly. Honestly, with Tampa, you already know what they're going to be. They're going to be one of the top contenders. Like you said, literally brought everybody back. I think the Panthers are so interesting. Honestly, at this point. I love Matt Rule. I fell in love with Matt Rule when we got a chance to listen to him talk at the Senior Bowl, and when you realize that he's been
a real players coach, Matt Rule.
Absolutely, a position coach through and through. He's literally coached every single position to become a head coach, and I learned a ton when we were able to do those interviews with him, and we were able to sit there and listen to him talk, especially when he talked about how the human element of the scouting is left out, and how he got into an elevator with somebody who was a top 10 pick consensus and still went in the top 10. He said he literally after that one elevator ride with the kid told his entire team he's off the board. We're not drafting him. And I was so intrigued by that. He didn't want to give a name. But what I'm really interested in is this offense is going to be much more spread. DJ Moore is going to get kicked in the slot. Terrace Marshall is going to actually be outside. And that's what's scary. If DJ Moore gets kicked inside, DJ Moore is the best slot receiver in the league.
He's going to eat.
Hands down. No one can guard him, no matter if he's on the outside, whatever. But now in the slot, God help you. Now, McCaffrey is obviously paid. All he has to do is stay on the field. Last year, unfortunately, he got injured, right? Things like that happen, especially with running backs.
But then they bring in Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, and Chuba Hubbard's right behind them. Now, here's the problem, right? With McCaffrey, this is why people are afraid of paying running backs, because things like this happen. Yes, absolutely electric, absolutely durable. He played every single game. Fantasy football star. But after that first injury, that second contract's the one where it starts to kind of break down. So I want to keep my eye on that. But when you talk about Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, with Sam Darnold being able to operate in that spread offense, I see them scoring points. And they're going to be an electrifying, fun team to play and to watch this year. So, again, Tampa's going to win that division. Carolina's going to turn some heads. The Saints I'm a little bit bigger on. And me and you kind of differ on the Jameis thing. And it's not even because me and Pasquini do our own show.
Right.
I think that when it comes to Jameis Winston, when you put him with Sean Payton, you're going to see a lot more deep throws than you ever saw with Drew Brees. Does that mean that he's going to turn the ball over way more than Drew Brees will? Now, how much Sean Payton will take of that is a whole other story. That depends on him. But that offense will be a little bit more explosive. God, don't kill me for what I'm about to say. I'm talking about 40-year-old Drew Brees. I'm not talking about in his prime Drew Brees. I'm talking about how this offense will be from basically Drew Brees. It's basically death by 1,000 paper cuts with Drew Brees. Everything's in the middle of the field. Everything's dump offs, quick decisions, things like that. Jameis actually remember the playoff game against the Bears.
Yeah,
I think the only touchdown they scored was that
Jameis touchdown pass.
Yeah, so they've been missing that vertical portion of the offense. And I think that Traquan Smith, you got Marquez Callaway, Michael Thomas is going to eat because he just gets himself open. Now, whatever you want to call him, slant boy, that's fine. He'll get his. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I think the Saints are a little bit better than people are thinking, honestly, at this point. But it's going to be very interesting to see how things work with Jameis, honestly. And I'm interested to see that. I'm just a little bit higher on Jameis, I think, than you are.
Yeah, you are. And, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of these. I could potentially be wrong. The Saints are one of them. It all very much depends on the quarterback. So I'm not a believer in Jameis. I've seen him long enough to know that he enjoys throwing to the other team's safety a lot. So until he proves that he doesn't do that anymore, I'm not going to be worried about the Saints. But
well, we kept it quick. Let's move on to the next one.
Yep, NFC East, Washington football team. I cannot wait to watch them play football and do the Washington football team things. They're going to go 10-7. I have them as the 3 seed in the NFC ahead of Minnesota. New York Giants, 9-8. They are the first team out of the playoff picture. They are number 8. So Daniel Jones, I think, will be better, but not quite good enough to get him in. Got Dallas at 7-10. Dak's coming back, and that's great. Their defense is still horrible. And then Philadelphia, I think I'm being generous with giving them 6 wins. I think they're going to be putrid too. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a 2-team race for the NFC East.
No, and I agree with you. And I think it's less about Jalen Hurts than it is more just the coach and that roster, honestly. I don't understand the coach move.
Hated the coaching hire, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Again, everybody thought that – I'm blanking on the head coach's name before him. Doug Peterson. Everybody assumed that it was Doug Peterson. What if it's Howie Roseman?
It very well could be.
And we're going to see this year. And this is the part where – when you make a move from a guy who won the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl under the wildest circumstances, winning with a backup quarterback and beating the GOAT, once you move on from him, you better start hitting immediately with that coach. This could be very well a Harbaugh, Jim Tom Sula type move where you look and you're just like, how on earth did this guy get hired? And he's gone in a year. I could totally see that happen. If they stick with him, then it's just out of pure stubbornness. But I have not heard this man speak in any way that leads me to believe that this team is going to be moving in some sort of winning direction. And I think that's unfortunate for Jalen Hurts because it's going to get thrown at his feet if things start to go bad. Because whatever you want to say about him is up to you. But honestly, this roster is not in a good spot right now. They're aging. They're a team that's coming down from the Super Bowl. So when you win the Super Bowl with a bunch of vets, if you stick with those vets, eventually that's all going to catch up to you, and it is catching up right now. But I just feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be the one who takes the fall for this, unfortunately. But it really, really can be thrown at the feet of the front office and who they decided to be with the head coach. Honestly, I really hate this Philly hire, and I feel bad for Jalen Hurts. I really do.
I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer by any means, but at the same time, the guy who they brought in, it's not going to help his development or whatever. He's not a good passer right now in terms of consistently, but if you brought in the right guy to do it, to develop him, he could become one. So They didn't do that, and I don't think he's going to play well this year, which could lead to them drafting a guy like Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler, and then Jalen Hurts could be on his way out too. So I don't believe in Philadelphia whatsoever. They're a dumpster fire, and I'll be surprised if they win 6 games.
Yeah, and that's fair. Absolutely fair. Dallas, I think you kind of hit it on the head. Dan Quinn's going over there to BDC. They're going to turn over to a cover 3 team. Let's see what happens. They've got the personnel actually to run cover 3. So I'm interested to see how their defense moves. Unfortunately, I agree with you at the same time. I think that they are still lacking a little bit, but I wouldn't be shocked if Dallas wins more games than we believe based on Dak being back. And goodness gracious, those weapons. Honestly, CeeDee Lamb being put into the slot is an absolute luxury of all luxuries. He's not a slot receiver. That's not how this works.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, I've undervalued Dak Prescott, and I think it was pretty evident just how valuable he is to this team when he went down. And it's unfortunate that it took that for a lot of us to say, "Oh, damn, Dak is pretty valuable to this team." And I was one of them. I've been critical of Dak throughout the past few years, but seeing what they were without him, sweet Jesus. So Dak coming back, it's going to help him a lot. But the rest of that team, the offensive line isn't what it used to be, so the run game isn't what it used to be. It's going to fall a little bit more on Dak's shoulders to get the job done. Defensively, the secondary is still suspect. I like Micah Parsons. They didn't really need a linebacker at that spot, so we'll see what happens. But the NFC West is where it gets juicy, my friend.
Well, I like honestly the call on Washington. We've talked about it.
Yeah,
I think
they're going to be a very fun team to watch.
I think they're through and through the best team in this division, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick starting, which is no slight at Ryan Fitzpatrick because I think he's actually an upgrade to what they've had since last year. And whatever, get mad at me, and we can look back at this and say, hey, this was Fitz tragic and it wasn't Fitz magic this time. But honestly, when you look at what they were running out there, Kyle Allen, Heineke, Alex Smith, unfortunately, whatever happened with him, but it was obviously at the end, Alex Smith, but Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas.
Keep going while I plug in my computer. I'm going to mute myself.
You're good. Diami Brown. You're talking about this defense, and they brought in William Jackson, who was literally on the Bengals wasting away as one of the best cover corners in the league, and they already had one of the better defenses in the league. So you're talking about a team that is about to upgrade itself defensively. It was about to have a quarterback who can make tough throws down the field, as we've seen with Fitzpatrick. And you're talking about a team that, when you're looking at this division, besides them and the Giants, everybody else is kind of just laying in the weeds. The Giants is where it gets a little bit interesting, Jarrett. So with them, the defense isn't the issue. You're on mute too, just in case. The defense isn't the issue. It's not at all. I think everything kind of hinges on where Daniel Jones goes with this offense, and can Jason Garrett not limit him? Is Jason Garrett going to be the reason that Daniel Jones doesn't take that step forward? He's got all the weapons now. Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Shepard, Slayton, Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, Saquon Barkley. The offensive line it should improve now that they've gotten people back who have opted out.
The offensive line isn't god awful, but it's definition
better
of a
than last year.
Yeah, it's better than last year. It's kind of the definition of a mediocre offensive line right now.
Absolutely, right? But so here's the thing. With Cincinnati, it's the same thing, right? It's like, okay, why didn't you take offensive lineman? Okay, but you took Jamar Chase because you know that you're going to get the ball out of your quarterback's hands fast, so he doesn't have to be protected. If you're going to take that route, then go ahead. But that assumes that you have a great play caller, and that's my issue with Jason Garrett. So I'm not going to throw it all at the feet of Jason Garrett, but there were times that I just watched their red zone their red zone execution and their play calls, and I just was like, God, what is going on? But James Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers, they've got players on defense. The defense was never the issue. They went in there.
Adoree Jackson as well.
Adoree Jackson. They went to LA last year, held them to like 9 points. They went to Seattle, beat Seattle with Colt McCoy. Those guys, aside from the 49ers game,
oh my God, I forgot about that. My God.
Yeah. Again, this team could turn some heads, honestly. I think, and that's not me just being biased from being here. I'm just looking at how they loaded this roster out, honestly. Kenny Galladay's a stud. They call him Babytron because, let's just face it, he's comparable to like a young Megatron. The problem is he can't stay on the field. Let's see what happens, honestly. I think the Giants are the most interesting wild card of this. It wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't shock me if the Giants won this division. I'm just putting my money on the better coach team, which is Ron Rivera. Better defense, which is Washington. And right now, probably a quarterback who is in the same tier as Daniel Jones, but who, when he's hot, is better than Daniel Jones. And we saw that. So I'll give it to Washington, but honestly, the Giants are not bad, man. I really am interested to see how they play this year.
And I think that this is Joe Judge in the front office saying, Dave Gettleman as well saying, look, let's give Daniel Jones all the help that we can afford, and we're going to find out if he's our guy. If he doesn't perform this year, then we know he's not. And then we can move on. So
that's the point.
Giving them 9 wins, it could vary. They could win the division. They could get 10, maybe 11 wins if Daniel Jones plays really well with all the help he's got. So it would not shock me if they won the division as well. As of right now, I'm still leaning Washington. We'll see what happens when the season comes. That's going to be a fun division to watch for the first time, and God only knows how long. Because for the longest time, the Giants have been the most boring team in the NFL, and for some reason put on primetime 8 times a year. Washington has been kind of a middling team. I get it. The New York market, they're still a boring-ass team. And then, Philadelphia and it's just been a boring division. So I'm glad that it's got some excitement to it. So,
NFC West, get to it.
Oh, my goodness. The NFC West is so loaded. Now, this is subject to change because I change my mind on this every day. But going through game by game for every team, I do have the 49ers winning the division, number 2 seed in the NFC, going 12-5.
That's what I got. 12-5.
I have the Rams at 11-6.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that I could flip-flop that by 2.0. So, but the Rams are my 5th seed, first wild card team at 11-6. Seahawks going 10-7. They are my 2nd wild card team at number 6. And the Cardinals going 9-8. They are my 7th wild card team. I have the entire NFC West making the playoffs.
Okay, so you're absolutely right about the 12-5 and 11-6 thing, and I'm gonna tell you why. Didn't you notice who was the last game on the entire season? And it's usually San Francisco, Seattle, San Francisco, and the Rams. So the NFL kind of knows something, or they kind of believe something, and they left that game open to be flexed. I don't have a lot of money, but whatever's in my little bank account, probably going to bet you that last game of the year in LA on Sunday Night Football is going to be for the marbles, is going to be for the West. And I think that's what the NFL is banking on. That's why 12-5 and 11-6 is right, because one team can end up 12-5, the other team can end up 11-6, but both are in the playoffs. Here's what I find interesting. You got all four of them making the playoffs.
I do.
The only one that really bothers me, because I know Seattle. It's not Seattle. No, Seattle.
I know it's not Seattle.
Seattle's going to be there. Just as long as Russell Wilson's there, I don't care what dysfunction they have. They're going to end up in the playoffs somehow. They're just going to end up there, and they're going to annoy me. They're going to beat the 49ers one time this year probably, and it's going to annoy me to no end because I'm not going to be able to explain how it happened, and it shouldn't have happened, but they always find a way to do that.
Yeah. It's
Arizona.
I know it is.
You got to explain this one to me, Jared.
Look, man, I love Kyler Murray.
I really do too.
And something about him, just look, I understand Cliff Kingsbury has his flaws, and I know. And look, this is subject to change, and 2.0 could very well see the Giants be that 7th seed and the Cardinals fall out. So when I made this, it was all right. You get Kyler Murray. The offensive line got a little bit better, I guess. You bring in AJ Green to be a solid number 2. You bring in Rondale freaking Moore, who I love. And if you stick him in the slot and if he stays healthy, he's gonna be Kyler Murray catching the ball. Defensively, I'm a little bit suspect on them. And the more I talk about this, the more I'm talking myself out of Arizona. Damn. Yeah. I love Isaiah Simmons. They bring in Zaven Collins. So I think that their front seven's pretty good. And once they figured out a way to use Isaiah Simmons as more of like a flex linebacker safety hybrid type thing, I hope that they continue to do that and utilize the talent that he has. I think their defense is going to be better. Buda Baker is very good. I want to see them get another piece in the secondary because Patrick Peterson's no longer there. But something about Kyler Murray just says, get on my tiny little back and I will carry you to a playoff spot. I will, whether it's with my arm or with my legs, we will get wins. And look, remember last year, Kyler Murray doesn't go down. We could be talking about the Cardinals being in the playoffs instead of the Rams. And so I think that, all right, they give him a little bit more help. They get Zaven Collins. If Kyler Murray can stay healthy throughout the year, I would like to think that the Cardinals can be a playoff team. Again, this is subject to change, but it'll come down between the Cardinals and the Giants. I know that much. It'll be those two teams that are duking it out.
Here's my issue. And I absolutely agree with you 100%. Any goodwill that Cliff Kingsbury has ever built up in this league is all due to Kyler Murray. All of it. Every single bit of it. They don't win. So think about this. The Hail Mary, I'm not going to call it the other thing because people hate when you call it that. The Hail Mary, if that doesn't happen, the Cardinals lose like 6 straight games. And that was against the Bills, who immediately walked back into that building and played the 49ers, who were still, even with all those injuries, better than the Cardinals because they ended up beating them later on in the year with C.J. Beathard and demolished the Niners, washed them. So that's my thing. If Kyler Murray in any way slips or gets injured, obviously you could say that about any starting quarterback, but I'm talking specifically about Cliff Kingsbury. I despise the way he utilizes Hopkins. I am not afraid that A.J. Green just showed up. Who cares? You might as well have just drafted the mummy. And then J.J. Watt. I mean, J.J. Watt. Dude, this team would have been fire in 2012.
I was going to say, this is a 2013 free agency class. They just won everything.
So it's less about Kyler. Kyler's going to win them games just based off of how good he is.
Yeah.
Again, running backs.
Chase Edmonds, James Conner.
James Conner?
Yeah.
Christian Kirk, the spread offense, this air raid offense doesn't do anything for me. Really doesn't. Kyler's going to win games based on being Kyler. Cliff Kingsbury, I feel like as long as he's there, is going to hold this team back. And like I've been saying on many, I don't know if I've said it here, I've said it on many podcasts. If you're a 49er fan, you want the 49ers to sign Cliff Kingsbury to a lifetime contract. You do not want him fired, because God help the league whenever he's paired up with a guy who actually knows how to utilize DeAndre Hopkins, moves him to other sides, doesn't have him run 3-yard outs to the sideline every single time. And God help the league when they actually allow Kyler Murray to be in advantageous situations with a good play caller. I'm just not sold on Cliff Kingsbury, man, honestly. And look, at the same time, I'll tell you this. There's still a world where probably all 4 of these teams make it. How likely on the range of outcomes? I don't see it being very likely. But if they do make it, let's say this. If they make the playoffs this year, Kyler Murray's an MVP candidate. Hands down. No questions asked. That's it. He has to be. That's the reason that they make it. If they make the playoffs, it's because Kyler Murray is playing like an MVP. I'm not betting on that because of his supporting cast and his play caller. But when it comes to all these things, I really don't care about Arizona. I'm not worried about them at all. The only reason that I fear them is because we can't stop running quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray's a menace. So I agree with you there. They'll win games because of Kyler, but it's hard for me to see them making the playoffs, man.
And that's a decent transition into, wrapping this segment up, because in terms of my predictions, if that is what happens, then the Cardinals will be taking a trip to Santa Clara wildcard weekend and playing the 49ers, 2 and 7 seed. So that would be one wildcard game. The other wildcard games being, if we go AFC to NFC. So the 2 and the 7 in the AFC, we would get Bills Dolphins for the 3rd time on the year. In Buffalo, nice. We would get Cleveland and Pittsburgh for a 3rd time, and a repeat of last year's wildcard game, 3 against the 6, just a little bit of a role reversal. And we would get Indianapolis taking on the Chargers in wildcard weekend, which would be a fun game. So those would be the 3 AFC wildcard games. And then the NFC wildcard games would be 49ers taking on the Cardinals. And then it would be the Washington football team taking on the Rams in Landover, Maryland. And then it would be the Vikings against the Rams. Yeah, all right. I really choked at the end there. But yes, Vikings against the Rams would be the last wildcard game. So that would be my playoffs.
Honestly, we went an hour 15. It's good to be back, man. I forget why we didn't do it. Oh, well, I know why we didn't do it yesterday. I was, gallivanting at a Yankee game. Yes. Why didn't we do it last week? What happened with me?
Averly got her shots.
Right. It really wasn't feeling good. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. So we're back. Honestly, this week, when does your camp open for the Steelers? Because ours opens Tuesday.
Was it OTAs?
Yes.
Let me Google it because I don't know the exact date.
It's going to open this week. It's pretty much for everybody, honestly. The 49ers start on Tuesday. So what I was going to say is we'll be back on Saturday at noon, most likely, and ready to talk. Honestly, it was good to kind of slow down with the content a little bit this week because we're going right back full throttle this entire week. So I missed you. It was good to do this again, honestly. And this is a really, really fun episode. This is a really fun episode.
Steelers minicamp starts May 25th. So
there you go.
In a few days. But it was fun to do this in some great jerseys. Personally, I like the throwbacks better. I get the mellow, but I'm always gonna,
I had to wear the mellow because I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that Denver Nuggets fans understand you only have a stadium because you drafted Carmelo Anthony, and for you to boo that man is ridiculous. He's the only reason anybody even knows who you are. And now the only reason anybody knows who the Denver Nuggets are is because of Jamal Murray's new meme of him.
Hey, don't you?
Oh, Jokic.
I was gonna say, don't you disrespect Joker like
my bad. MVP candidate. All right, cool. You got me.
Nikola Jokic is my favorite player in the NBA. I'm not that much of an NBA fan anymore. I've just been turned off to the game, as sad as it is for me to say out loud. It's just
stick to football, Jarrett.
Oh, wow. Yes.
No, honestly, somebody told me that about Friends. They were like, stick to football. Nobody cares about what you have to say about a classic show. I was like, Jesus.
Man, I aspire to be as famous as you and get hate mail like that. I did get a lot of hate mail for that quarterback list. What am I talking about? I
can't wait for your wide receiver list. This is going to be incredible, man. You are really about to set the internet on fire, man.
I'm really not. My receiver list is good. My quarterback list is good. It's just 49er fans hate when anybody puts Joe Montana below 2. So
yeah, the 4th, and then you didn't have Steve on there. Hey, whatever. We did a whole episode. All right, let's wrap it up because we're at 120. Get it, Jared. Hey, Jared, let everybody know where they could find you, what you're working on this week. You had a really big show where you had Ike Taylor on there, Damon, Emilendor.
Yes, I think you said it right. I think I messed it up when I introduced him, but
yeah, because I just want to say Amendola, but it's Amendola.
Yeah, me too. Fan-sided article just released, going game by game, predicting every game on the Steelers schedule, so you can check that out. Yes, the podcast that we just did for Laces Out, which I introduced the show as by accident. Me and Kurt had one of I think it was our biggest panel we've ever had. Ken Anderson, former Bengals quarterback, Ike Taylor, a two-time Super Bowl champion with Pittsburgh, Damon Amendola, host of the CBS Morning Show on CBS Sports, and Matt Verderame was not there because he had plans with his wife that he did not know about until the day before. So that happens. That does happen. Yeah, I got a text right before. He's like, "Dude, I'm sorry," but I was like, "No, he meant it." So
he meant it. He definitely wasn't dissing you.
No, Matt Verderame my guy. Tomorrow, oh my God, I'm so excited for tomorrow. So let me channel my inner nerd. I know we've gone for an hour 20, so I don't care.
You're good, man. This is it. Yeah. We're wrapping up.
So for anybody who knows me, you know how big of a wrestling nerd I am. And I want to shout out Wrestle Talk and Parts Fun Known and Adam Blompiade for his great Quizzlemania shows that he does. And it gave me and Kurt the idea to do an NFL trivia style show. So tomorrow on Laces Out, you can catch it here on Twitter, on my Twitter page. It'll be the first ever Laces Out Trivia Bowl. So Trivia Bowl 1 will take place tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Time. The contestants are the aforementioned Matt Verderame from Fansided, Mike Tanier, who has written for anything that writes about football, most notably Football Outsiders. He will be there. Thor Nystrom, NBC Sports Edge, will be there. And Benjamin Raven, Lions beat writer from MLive, will be our contestants tomorrow to chase after the newly most coveted prize in sports trivia, the Laces Out Trivia Bowl Championship. I cannot wait to get my inner Alex Trebek on. It's going to be the most fun I've had in quite some time. Not that I don't enjoy doing this with you every week, Jason Aponte. I'm so very excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say. No, honestly, so if you're gonna be Trebek, who's gonna be your Sean Connery? Do you get that one? From
yes. Oh man, I'm so glad that you get that. And your mother sits on my face, Trebek. All
right. So real quick before we wrap up, this week's going to be really ramped up when it comes to content. You're going to catch me on some podcasts that you never thought that I would be on. Honestly, I'm really excited and honored to join some of these podcasts. I don't want to give it away yet.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Tell me in the after show. Yeah,
I'll tell you after the show. I'm working on getting Matt Harmon, who works for Yahoo Sports, and he runs Reception Perception. He just finished charting Brandon Ayuk, and I want to have him on Sprint Right Options so we could talk about Brandon Ayuk's route success, and he's going to talk about his process and everything as well too. Also with camp opening up, you catch me with Grant Cohn this week. You're going to catch me, doing, everything that I can on the channel. We're going to be bringing on people because there's a lot to talk about in 49ers world. So just excited, man. This is it. Everything's ramping up. Once the summer happens, that's it. Football is in full swing and you just start to move, and honestly, just excited to keep up with the content. It's good that I took a little lull, but I'm ready to go, honestly, for the rest of this time. This week's going to be really exciting. I think it's like 24 subs away from 2,000. So if you've been watching the video, please like, subscribe, send it to anybody else that you would think would enjoy this. Again, Two Skinny Dudes is about me and Jarrett talking about other things aside from the 49ers, which is why I enjoy it so much, because I am a fan of the sport as much as I am a fan of the 49ers, and I love talking about other teams as well too. So a lot of content coming from both of us, honestly. Just make sure you follow us on our socials at Jason Aponte 2103, at Jarrett Bailey NFL. And Jarrett, unless you have anything left, we can get out of here because it's almost been like an hour and a half.
Yeah. I mean, you can go subscribe to my YouTube, Jarrett Bailey, or the Laces Out YouTube page as well, for a little bit of a plug. So, that's about it. All I have. My receiver list will be out later this week. Can't wait for everybody to hate it. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be a great segment for Two Skinny Dudes on Saturday. So honestly, thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, like, subscribe. Make sure you follow us both on Twitter, and make sure that you keep up with all our content. And for Jarrett, we out of here.
Stay tuned. Just mellow.